there are many areas of our lives where we're just dipping our toe, we're dabbling. And because we're dabbling, we never really master the identity, the skills, the procedures, the systems, the lifestyle required to get sustainable results from that thing. Hey, listener, welcome to episode number 97 of Listen Up. So, I'm so excited to share with you today, like this cheat code that I have found in my life. But before I do that, I need to give you some context and why I'm thinking about it this month. So, if you listened to my episode last week, I shared that my theme for March was Mastery March. I wanted to really focus on mastering certain skill sets and mastering certain systems in my business. Just kind of wanted to come from a mastery mindset. And one of the things that I said I was going to do to nurture that mindset is I was going to read Robert Greene's book, Mastery, so that I could kind of adopt the skills and the tools and the techniques to becoming a person who has a mastery mindset. And then I started to read the book. And when I did, I noticed that there is a distinction between what I was interpreting as mastery and what Robert Greene's definition of mastery is. So when he starts talking about mastery and mastering a craft, he's talking about Mozart. He's talking about being the best in your field of anyone else that has ever done a thing because you have mastered it to that level, which is amazing and something that we should all aspire to. And in order to go through this process, the first thing that you have to figure out is what is your life craft? What is this thing that you are going to focus on becoming a master at, whether it's a sport or it's an instrument or it's a skill that you have, right? Like writing or in my case, I would say it's storytelling. Okay. And then you go through this process of becoming an apprentice and then finding a mentor and, developing certain skills. And the way that he describes it, mastery is like plus 10 years and more of focusing on this particular craft or skill that you have devoted your life to. That is amazing. And I would say that when I was listening to that, I quickly realized that the craft that I have chosen for that level of mastery is in the personal development world, right? I've been an apprentice of my father, I would say, since I was 7 years old. I've been studying this work and really acquiring a lot of tools and wisdom and reading books. And I've had multiple mentors and I've devoted my life to helping people develop their personal growth and develop my own personal growth. And if I had to choose one craft that's like the thing that I'm going to focus on, it would be that. And my particular skill set is storytelling, right? That's like my niche in this industry. That's the thing that I do probably the best of anything. Storytelling and connecting it to universal principles. Okay. So if I were focused on mastering and only mastering that, then that book is very relevant and applicable to my craft and to what I want to accomplish. And there is another definition of mastery that I think is important. One that Robert Greene is not talking about, and that is mastering a habit or a lifestyle to the point of getting sustainable results from that habit or that lifestyle. And I think that is what March was really for me this month. I wanted to help you and help myself just dive deeper, go deeper into the mastering certain things in our lives so that we get sustainable results, so that we don't stay at surface level. And one of the best ways to show this is with food and weight and wellness. Okay. Most people eat a certain way, have certain lifestyle habits when it comes to exercise and food and things like that. And if they struggle with their weight or maintaining a healthier lifestyle, chances are that they often stay at surface level fixes. So they'll do a temporary diet, or they'll do a temporary challenge, or they'll hire a temporary nutritionist, or they'll take a temporary pill. And they do this so that they can, quote unquote, kickstart their results and then hopefully maintain those results long term. But what I've noticed in the process is that they are trying to achieve that maintenance level without mastering the lifestyle. What does that mean? That means that their identity is stuck in old habits. Their desires are still from the past version of themselves. They make these temporary adjustments that are surface level adjustments, but their idea is that they're going to have maintenance in their old way of thinking, in their normal life. So they choose an abnormal experience so then they can go back to normal life, and that keeps them in that surface level temporary result version of themselves for a long time, forever, and that happens in a lot of different areas of your life. You see that often in organizational skills. You see that often in entrepreneurship. You see that often in weight. There are many areas of our lives where we're just dipping our toe. We're dabbling. And because we're dabbling, we never really master the identity, the skills, the procedures, the systems, the lifestyle required to get sustainable results from that thing. And if you're looking at Robert Greene's definition, none of this stuff matters anyway. Because if you truly want to be a master at your craft, you really should focus on that to the exclusion of everything else. So, which one is it? Right? This is the question that we all have. Like, which one is it? Do I not worry about anything other than my craft and the thing that I want to become a master of, or do I try to achieve certain mastery on a bunch of different things, you know, to create a more balanced life? Hey, so I'm going to interrupt this episode for just a second to ask you this question. Are you the woman who is consuming growth content but not fully integrating it into your life? If you are craving deeper clarity, more follow through, and real emotional joy and connection in your life, not because everything is perfect, but because you are living in alignment, then the well was built for you. This is a structured, calm, and safe environment where you strengthen your decision making, your standards, and your direction, and stop self negotiating, stop living on autopilot, and stop drifting with indecision. If this is exactly what you're looking for, then the details are in the show notes. I would love to see you inside. Now, back to the episode. If I'm thinking about you who's listening to this podcast, or me, I have to say, for us, it's the latter. Like, what we want is a life that functions well. And I know if Luli B's listening to this, she's gonna be like, when I say balance, because she thinks balance is bullshit, which I agree with to a certain extent. But for lack of a better term, a life that is balanced, right? That you feel you do have your health in order, you do have your home in order, you do have a sustainable business, you are functioning at mastering different outputs in your life in a balanced way so that you function well. That's what I think a lot of us long for. I don't think that we are all looking to become Mozart. We are not all looking to become the greatest of all time in one particular area of our lives. That's 1% of the population, and there's a reason for that, right? And that comes with a lot of compromising other things. So I guess the first thing you have to determine is like, who do you want to be? All that to say is that I noticed as I've been studying this concept of mastery and like kind of exploring who I want to be and what I want to seek mastery in, and the kind of person I want to become, and trying to help you do the same. And I have found that there is a cheat code to creating this balanced, sorry, Luli, lifestyle where you have things that are functioning and in order without having to become a master at each thing, and focus on mastery in what your life craft is, or your life skill is, or your pursuit of mastery is. And that is by developing a team of masters to support you. The way that you bridge the gap between surface level results and a masterful experience is by having a team of masters. Now, I'm going to tell you where I learned this, and then I'm going to get to the story that prompted this conversation. I learned this when I remodeled my home. Okay. My husband and I had been wanting to remodel our house for a long time. My house was literally falling apart by the time that I remodeled it. I bought it in 2014 and I owned it until 2023 without touching it at all. And when we moved in, it was already a little outdated. Luckily for us, our house was very neutral. So even though things were outdated, they weren't offensive to the eye. Like, I didn't walk into a bathroom and feel like, oh my God, I've got to change the pink floor. Everything was neutral colors. It was passable. It was just old. And as the years went by, almost 10 years of wear and tear and all these kids, I mean, it was time. My kitchen cabinets were falling apart. The bathroom was falling apart. Like, we really needed to make some adjustments. But we wanted to remodel the house almost an entire year or even 2 years before we actually remodeled it. Why? Because we went through different iterations of what we wanted to do in the house. And there was a lot of thinking energy that went into the house. And we got some quotes and we talked to some people and we talked to contractors and we made some decisions. We decided to do the outside before the inside. Then COVID hit, so it was many years in the making before we pulled the trigger on remodeling our house. But in that entire experience, I had spoken to a friend of mine whose husband walked my wedding, and she's a dear friend. Her name is Elika. And I knew that she was in the interior design industry. So I had spoken to her about what it would look like for me to remodel my house, hoping that she could give me some tips or suggestions, or whatnot. And I learned that she doesn't only function as an interior designer, but she functions as a project manager. So one of the things that she could do is that she could come into the home, she could design the project, design the entire remodel, and handle the remodel. She could deal with the vendors. She could deal with the contractors. She could make sure that everything's being done properly, up to code. Everything is in its place. Everything is documented, etc. So when I discovered this function that she could serve, I talked to my husband about it. We had her come in and we had her price it out. And of course, it was an investment on top of the actual remodel. And a lot of people criticized me making this investment. They're like, why are you going to spend, X amount of money over the remodel so that somebody can oversee it? Just oversee it yourself. And my husband and I, we thought about it. We talked about it and kind of labored over it. And ultimately what we decided was we don't have mastery in home remodels. We don't really truly understand what it takes. And we believe that it will be more expensive and more time consuming and create more mistakes by us trying to save the money on using somebody like Elika than it would to invest in her and have her run the project. And we decided to test the theory. And let me tell you, we gave her a very tight time frame. We gave her very specific instructions as to what we wanted, and we got to work. And we trusted the process. We trusted that she was going to do a good job. Now, I was still involved in the project. I came to the house every single day. I was paying attention. I was looking at what was going on. This wasn't a set it and forget it, because I do believe that we have to participate in the creation of our own reality. But for the most part, I allowed her to spearhead the project. And at some point, when we were talking about the design of the house, we had originally a galley kitchen, which if you, I didn't know what that was. So basically, it's just like a kitchen that's very narrow because it has a wall that separates the main living area from the kitchen. So it's like a very narrow kitchen. It's long, like a rectangle, and that's what we had originally. And one of the conversations that we had to have in terms of the design of the house was whether we're going to take down that wall. And Elika was a big fan of taking down that wall, creating a huge island, big kitchen, open concept, very popular in today's day and age. And my husband was totally for that design, but I was not. And the reason I was not was because we're messy people. I've lived in that kitchen for 10 years, and I know that when everything is out in the kitchen and the dishes aren't washed and the house is a mess, and you walk into the house, the first thing that you're going to see is that messy kitchen, and I find that to be unsettling. I loved that when I walked into my house, the first thing I saw was a nice painting with a little table, everything was organized, and I had to turn the corner to witness the mess that was behind the kitchen. But at least it wasn't like my first impression when I walked into the house. So I was very against taking that wall out. And I was telling Elika, like, don't do it. And then Elika said to me something that forever changed me. She said, the reason that you have had that experience is because you've never had a home that is designed for systems, that has a home for every single item that you have. Your house is being designed methodically and functionally and comfortably. So picking up is not going to be as hard as it was before. Putting things away isn't going to be as hard as it was before. And maintaining order isn't going to be as hard as it was before. And at first, I had thought that the remodel was going to be an aesthetic revision to the house. That's really what I thought we were doing. And I understood that it was necessary, but I didn't think it was essential. Like, it wasn't a priority to me. I didn't need it to be so beautiful for me to be happy. But when she said that to me, she helped me understand that the remodel wasn't just an aesthetic revision, it was a systemic revision. She was going to help me create a new way of living, a new lifestyle by the way that I handled the home. And she promised me that when she created and established that order, I would be able to follow that order because she was going to teach me how to do it. Now, I did three things. I read Marie Kondo's Magic of Tidying Up and Spark Joy. I read those two books. I worked with a professional organizer, Neat with Nicole, who's a dear friend of mine. I'll put all of this information in the show notes in case you want to ever work with these people or read these books or whatever. I worked with Nicole so that she could help me understand organization. And I had Elika work on the design of my home to create an orderly, functional space. And 2 years later, I have lived to tell the tale. I have never once been bothered by walking into my home because my kitchen is such a disaster and my home is such a disaster, because we have changed the way we operate. We have changed the way we live. Never once is an exaggeration. Of course, there's been a day where the house is a mess and all that kind of stuff. I'm saying it's not the norm. The norm is that my house is in order. The norm is that I live a pleasant experience in my home, because I had a master bridge the gap between where I was and who I wanted to become. I outsourced that to her. Now, I didn't outsource my learning, I didn't outsource my following through. I learned about it, but I didn't have to spend 10 years learning about a home remodel and mastering the craft of organization in order to create sustainable results. I didn't have to go the Robert Greene route because there's already somebody that does that. So that was my first example. This is the context. But then I got that example and I copy and pasted it into other areas of my life that I did not want to create my own mastery, but I want support. And the second area of my life that I did this in is fashion and styling. Okay. I am not a person who cares about brands, dressing perfectly, looking beautiful. Again, aesthetics has not been my thing. Aesthetics in my home wasn't my thing. Aesthetics in clothes isn't my thing. I don't like to look terrible. I don't like to look like I just rolled out of bed. I do like to look presentable, but I'm not overly concerned with fashion and style and all this kind of stuff. And I also recognized that I have moved into a season of my life where the way that I look is important. I'm on video a lot. I speak a lot. I have a YouTube channel. I'm in front of people often. And in order for me to look excellent and look my best, I need to worry about my exterior, the way that I present myself. And that does have a certain level of value. But it's not my thing. So I could go to Marshall's and buy a bunch of things, or I could go to Lululemon or Saks Fifth Avenue and buy a bunch of things. And I really don't have that gift of putting it together and making it beautiful and perfecting it and looking fabulous. It's just not my strength. And because I had used Elica for my remodel, I had a thought. What if I hired a stylist? Now, you would think that a stylist is for like the rich and famous. I thought a stylist was for the rich and famous. But it turns out that a stylist is not for the rich and famous. A stylist is simply a consultant, a person who has mastery in a field that helps you become more efficient with what it is that you want to do. So, this is where the story all wraps up. This week, I work with a stylist now. Her name is Paola. And Paola, I have her on a retainer. She and I work monthly together. And what the way that it works is I tell her what my events are for the month, what are the important things that she has to dress me for. I have a rent the runway account. So I rent clothes because, by the way, I don't want to own a lot of clothes. I consider myself a minimalist. I don't want to have a huge wardrobe. I don't want a shirt that I'm going to wear 3 times and then is going to sit in my closet for a year. I don't want any of this. I don't want any of this. So I have a Rent the Runway account. So it's like a membership, a subscription, and I get 5 pieces a month. And Paola goes into the membership. She chooses the 5 pieces that I'm going to wear and how I'm going to wear them. And then she styles them for me and she tells me like the different looks that I could have for the month. But this month she hosted a pop-up, which is like a consignment store in her home, right? She If you're in Miami, this would be a great thing for you. But she got all these clients of hers that had all these incredibly nicely branded clothes, brand new with tickets on them. And she set them up, like displayed them in her home, and then you could get them at a fraction of the price of what the person paid for it. It's a consignment experience. Now, I love the idea of consignment because since I don't want to pay full value for a branded item, I don't want to pay, for a shirt that I'm going to wear 3 times. Like, I don't want to spend my money in that way at all. It's just not, it doesn't interest me. So I'd be a great thrifter, except that if I have to choose between reading Robert Greene's book on mastery or thrifting on Saturday, what do you think I'm going to choose? I'm going to choose Robert Greene's book. Why? Because where I want to dedicate my life in mastery is to personal development and personal growth and reading and storytelling and writing and connecting the dots for people and living with intention. That is my craft. I don't want to waste time going through thrifting stores and rummaging through the racks to find the one outfit that looks good for me. I don't want to do that. So I love the concept of thrifting, but I can't be a thrifter because all my attention and time goes to other things. So Paola does this pop up, and I would have loved to have gone to the pop up, but I couldn't because I had another event. But because I am her client, I am her personal client, she looked through the pop up and she found a few items that she knew were missing from my wardrobe. Items that would be great complements to the wardrobe. Items that are not like, to give you an example, this shirt is a Rent the Runway shirt, right? If you're looking at me on YouTube or on Spotify, it's a beautiful, flowery, beautiful shirt, but I'm going to wear this shirt 3 times and then I'm going to return it and I don't ever want to wear it again. So we're not talking about her getting me these kinds of shirts. But what she did find were things like this. And if you're on YouTube or Spotify, here we go. These jeans, right? She's a master at finding jeans. I'm here. Sorry, I got too excited when I was trying to show you my jeans. But anyway, so Paola found these jeans for me. I had rented a few jeans. She already knew the jeans that fit me well, and she found a pair that would serve me well in the pop-up, and she set them aside for me. She set aside a few little pieces that would look really great in my wardrobe. Now, why was Paola able to do this? Because Paola is a master at styling, because I work with her on retainer. So she knows what my events are. She knows what I need to, how I need to dress. She knows what my closet looks like because she's been in my closet. She's gone through all my stuff. She knows what pieces I need. And she also knows what my essentials are. Like, she knows that I'm a minimalist. She knows I don't want to own a lot of clothes. She knows all of these things about me. And for that reason, she was able to bring me a sample of items that I could incorporate into my wardrobe. And I didn't have to go to a thrift store. I didn't have to go to a Marshalls. I didn't have to go anywhere to try to piecemeal my fashion or my style. And I certainly don't have to learn about it because I have outsourced and delegated to a master that helps me create a sustainable life, a sustainable result of looking good on a monthly basis and making this a priority without it consuming me. Now, this is important because when we develop a team of people that we allow to be master advisors in our life, and we are willing to show up and do the work that is required of us to incorporate those advisors into our life, the combination is a complete cheat code. It is a complete cheat code. For example, I am on people's team of mastery advisors, right? I am a coach that is on people's team of mastery advisors. So I have one of my clients, she came to me for mindset and for wellness and for identity work. And I counsel her. I counsel her on her business. I counsel her on her marriage. I counsel her on her wellness journey. I counsel her on her habits. I counsel her on her mindset, the way that she thinks about things when she's struggling. What are the patterns that are showing up? What are the habits that she's ignoring? Who does she have to go to? What does she have to do? I'm not the only person on her team, but I am a valuable member of her team because she has a team of masters that support her in creating the highest version of herself. I have a team of masters as well. I've got my stylist, I've got my mastermind, I've got coaches. I worked with a podcast coach, I worked with a parenting coach, I worked with a life coach. I've created a team of advisors at different times for different reasons that all help me step into a higher version of myself. And that is an absolute cheat code. And I would venture to say that it's also the wisest investment you can make. And I'm going to tell you why. Because if I did not have Paola picking out my outfits, making sure that I was wearing the right things, picking out these sample pieces, I would be forced to go out and pay, $350 for a pair of jeans in a fire drill. And my friends can attest that I have done that in the past because I need to be at a speaking event tomorrow and I need to look presentable. And jeans is the right look for this particular speaking event, but I don't have a nice pair of jeans. So I have a bunch of my friends telling me which jeans to buy. And I go and I pay the $350 jeans, but they're not exactly the right fit. And then the next week I don't love the jeans anymore, but they serve the purpose that one day. And then now I'm stuck with the jeans because I already paid all this money for the jeans, as opposed to having somebody that's like, no, 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 you don't need to spend that kind of money on the jeans. These jeans are going to be the perfect fit for you at a fraction of the price and that what they were originally, because they were hand-me-downs. And that feels good for me, right? By paying for a stylist, I actually save money on my clothes. By paying Elega for the remodel, I ended up saving so much time because we had a flawless experience. We saved so much time, so much energy, and so much money on doing things right the first time. And I was so pleased with the results. Now, is it an investment? Yes, it's an investment, but it is an investment to save you on 1,000 paper cuts of investments that probably add up to the same thing anyway, and it becomes a wash. So that is my cheat code. This is the month that I am exploring what mastery looks like. And for me, one of the most important things that I have learned in my life is that it is equally important to figure out what you are mastering as to figure out who are the team of masters you want to surround yourself with in your life to outsource certain areas of your life that you don't want to become a master at, but you also want to benefit from. And that is important. That is really, really important. So while I am reading the books of Robert Greene Mastery, and I am studying about intuition and intention and connection and relationships and taking the psychology classes and focused on all of the things that I need to focus on for your personal growth, you can be using that time to invest in what is important to you. So now my question is to you. Who is on your team? Who are the masters that you want to bring in to your team to support you and help you become the highest version of yourself? People that have studied and done the work and have the expertise that you may not have, that will save you the 10 plus years that Robert Greene has noted is necessary and critical for you to achieve mastery in a certain area, but will still allow you to go deep enough to get sustainable results. That is the question I have for you in this March season. I hope this has been helpful, and I invite you to start looking at your life and how you can build a team of masters to support you in creating your best life. I hope you have a happy, sacred Sunday, and I will see you next week. That's it for today's episode. Thanks so much for being here. I am deeply grateful for this time to connect. If this podcast has supported you, I'd love it if you'd follow, rate, and leave a review wherever you listen to podcasts. They help us so much. And if you know someone who could really use a voice like mine in their head, go ahead and share this episode with them. That would be absolutely wonderful. Now, if you enjoy these conversations, I also want to invite you to join my Moment of Clarity email newsletter. Every Sacred Sunday, I send a more personal reflection where I share stories, insights, and some behind the scenes lessons I am living and learning in real time. It is where we slow down, notice what's unfolding, and stay rooted in intention together. And it's also the first place I share what's happening in the well and in my work. So if you want to stay closer to this work, the link is in the show notes. Until next time, take care and keep noticing the magic in the mess. Like my friend always says, the project is big and you're a part of it.